I'm Michelle Graves, your host on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm glad to have you here. Now, at The Power of Money, we are interested in three things happening. First, we want you to get the necessary education so that you and your family can make the decisions that will impact positively on you in your financial life. The second thing is that you be empowered to prosper. I only want the best for you. And you can only get that if you have education and then the drive to make it happen. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you recognize that life is more than a journey and that you be energized so that you can begin to participate in the truly joyous experience of living. So, here's to empowerment, here's to education, and here's to energy. I'm Michelle Graves, your host, Power of Money, and here we go. And here we go to those of you that are watching, my faithful viewers over the many, many years that we've done this broadcast. I am honored to have a very special organization on for the next hour, specifically for veterans and their families. And of course, veterans should be near and dear to all of us because they're the ones that literally did boots on the ground for us to be able to enjoy the liberties that we have as American citizens. So they are extremely special to me, and I hope you feel the same way for the service that they gave, not only to our country, but to those of us as individuals, so that we might enjoy literally the fruits of their sacrifices. Today's interview is with the Disabled American Veterans Organization, and they are a nonprofit organization that specializes in assisting disabled veterans in a variety of things. And so we're going to explore the organization, talk about what they provide, and how you, if you fit in that category, how you can benefit from that association. I have as my guest today via Skype, Scott Trimarchi. He's Assistant National Service Director, as well as an Air Force veteran. And he's going to discuss an array of veteran benefits, as well as no-cost services that the DAV offers to veterans and their families. This is going to be a sit-down, get out a pencil, and learn some things you may not know. If you were like me, I saw their signs all over the place at Home Depot and other places where veterans get preferential parking. And I also have family members that are involved with this organization, and I'm just delighted to have him give us his time today. And I thank the organization for freeing up time to be able to share him and his resources to me and to the viewing audience all over the United States. So, good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for having me today.
I'm delighted and honored that you were able to get time to come on this show. Let's start with, what is DAV? Give me some history here.
DAV is a nonprofit veteran service organization. It started based on the needs of World War I veterans back from a Christmas party discussion, actually in 1919. And those discussions with fellow veterans and leaders in the community eventually evolved into DAV, Disabled American Veterans of the World War. And at that time, it was only World War I. And DAV officially became an organization on September 25th, 1920. So coming up next year, DAV is celebrating its centennial anniversary. It's a momentous occasion for us. So it's been built on one single purpose, essentially, and that is service to our nation's most deserving individuals, our ill and injured veterans, their families, and survivors. plain and simple, and it's all free of charge.
Free of charge?
Free of charge. Now, while DAV, as a veteran service organization, is a membership-based organization as well, you do not have to be a member of DAV if you are eligible to be a member. You do not have to be a member, and you do not have to donate in order to be able to get the services, the array of services that we provide.
That is very, very, very powerful. What are the array of services that are provided?
Well, DAV's foremost service, in which we are considered the premier organization when it comes to this, and that is representing veterans, again, their families and survivors, before the Department of Veterans Affairs in obtaining benefits that they rightfully earned as a result of their military service.
My goodness. So that covers everything that the VA offers but the veteran may not know about?
Well, let me be a little bit more specific, and that is our representation deals primarily with the VA's Benefits Administration, and that
Okay.
is the VBA, the Veterans Benefits Administration side of the house. As far as representation on the medical side of the house, the Veterans Health Administration, we are not doctors, we are not physicians, we are not trained in a medical profession to where we can, contest any medical practices, principles, treatments that are prescribed by any VA facility or a contracted facility. So our representation is primarily with the benefit side of the house. However, as all DAV National Service Officers are trained to do, and there are nearly 260 DAV National Service Officers
My
at present.
goodness. That's amazing.
Absolutely. We counsel individuals, advise them, educate them on any benefits that they may be entitled to, and that includes medical care. Now, that's not specific medical care, but it's being able to use a VA medical center, a VA outpatient clinic, a VA community-based outpatient clinic, being able to use their services.
Okay, so why, may I ask you just openly, why would a veteran use your services when they can do it on their own?
Well, first and foremost, the VA's, again, the VBA, the Veterans Benefit Administration, the claims process can be very challenging for many individuals, especially if you're not trained in veterans law, which is what all DAV National Services are. While we're not attorneys, we're not barred attorneys, we haven't gone to law school and practiced law, we are considered attorneys in fact. And the reason why people should come to DAV and visit with a National Service Officer is you'll find no one that's better trained in the system as DAV NSOs are. They go through a rigorous 16-month on-the-job training program before they, as an apprentice, before they are considered an Associate National Service Officer. And throughout their career, they will continue to go through training through one of many programs DAV has, but the biggest one is DAV's Structured and Continuing Training Program, which is about a 3-year-long training program, and it evolves in real time as each module is being trained on any given month. So the training the organization provides to its service officers is bar none the very best, absolute top of the line and very advanced.
So my question would, following that descriptive, the question that I would have would be, how does a veteran qualify for your service loop? I know that with regard to disabilities, and I'm certainly not an expert with the Veterans Administration, but I know there's supposedly tiers of disability. Does service-related, do you all get into non-service-related disabilities?
We do, as it applies to one, the benefits an individual is trying to seek. You
Okay.
have VA, you have disability compensation. Those are, that is actual compensation. It's not based on income. It's not based on anything other than the fact that an injury or illness either began or is considered presumptive or secondary to other conditions, or a exposure like Agent Orange, perfect
Okay.
example. There's presumptive disabilities, but the compensation side of the house, if that's what you're referring to as the tiers,
Yes.
there are different levels of compensation. You have a 0% all the way up to 100%, and then beyond 100%, there's what's called special monthly compensation. And there's various, and as one could imagine, significant disabilities that would allow for or warrant a rating in any of those categories. So, yes, it is tiered, and it's based on a level of the disability or disability one has that's considered service connected, that is service related.
Okay. So if a veteran has come out of the war without any, quote, visible physical challenges, but say he or she has mental challenges because that experience, it's my understanding, did create a lot of post-traumatic stress issues that were not necessarily physical, but did impact on their ability to integrate into the society at large on a level playing field. Do you all get involved with that?
We do. Mental health issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, and others are very much disabilities in accordance with law. When we say illness and injuries, we're referring to all types of illness and injuries. And the reason for that is, as our name had implied, disabled American veterans. That phrase isn't as positive as one would like nowadays. And that's true. I mean, times have changed significantly. Yes. So no one wants to be labeled as being disabled versus wants to be enabled.
Right.
But we represent all levels of disabilities. It does not matter. And going back to what I said before about you don't have to be a member of the organization, you don't have to donate to the organization. Even if you did become a member, which we would be very thankful for, because that adds to our voice here, especially on for our legislative staff to argue our benefits before our members of Congress and the president himself. There is no different level of service. Whether you're a member, you donate, or you're not a member, you don't donate. The very bottom line is you will get the same level of representation either way.
So do you all engage, because the issue of homelessness among veterans is severe? And my question is, do you all actually get involved in aiding and assisting and counseling them, or do you act in a referral capacity, referring them to the VA?
No, actually, we will help any homeless veteran. We'll help any veteran. The homeless veterans, we actively engage in what's called homeless veteran stand-downs that generally are put on by the VA, but it could be another community entity that is putting one on. And DAV, if able, we will be there. Of course, it depends on the location, depends on the times, depends on the staffing availability of any particular office. But we participate in those events, and we bring our services to events just like that.
Okay.
And we often use referrals. Those who are in various states, benefits vary. Available resources vary. So there's no one size fits all. That's why those in any particular state are better versed in what's available to any of the local homeless veterans. And we would encourage any one of them to come in and visit with us and, see what can be done for them, both from a VA side of the house and also the local community and state side of the house.
So you get involved with interfacing with those organizations as well? Local and state?
We
for
do.
Those, okay.
We do. A lot of our supervisors in the field, they have active engagement with a lot of the various commissions and community activities that go on. Again, that would vary and also depends on what actually is offered in any of those areas. Okay. But yes, we are familiar with what is available to veterans of any particular state. Okay,
well that's extremely good information for people to know, is that you all do engage in collaborative and cooperative work with some of these other agencies as well, so we don't have overlap and duplication.
That is correct.
Okay, so typically explain, what is it, how much does it cost to become a member? I know you've already said you're not required to join, the services will be extended to you whether you are a member or not, but how much does it cost?
Well, DAV is going to a flat rate as of January 1st.
Okay.
I believe it's $300 for any member. Those individuals who are over 80, if they're not already members, they can become members for no charge whatsoever.
If they're over 80?
That's correct.
Okay, so if they're under 80 and they want to become a member, and again, membership is not mandatory or obligatory, it would be
Absolutely
$300.
Not.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've often stressed this, we need the membership, just like every veteran service organization needs the membership.
Yes.
Because the stronger the voice, the louder you're heard in the political arena.
Yes.
That's not my specialty per se, but the larger the voice, if you have 900,000 members versus 1.3 million members,
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to carry the greater weight?
Right.
That's why it's done, because DAV is established not just to provide services, but to protect the benefits that veterans have earned as a result of their military services. Benefits that may have been established many years ago or newly created benefits. Mm-hmm. We just want to make sure that veterans' rights are not negated in any conversation about any benefits.
Okay, that's extremely important as we move on down the line, particularly as we go into the next year coming up. So a veteran has to come to you. He or she does not have to become a member, but they do need to come to you, correct? And you have facilities all over the United States.
We have facilities, and I'll explain a little bit further. DAV is an organization. We have the national organization, then we have the department level, and then we have the chapter level. The chapter level are the chapters that you see in many communities within the continental United States, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Alaska. There are many chapters out there. They're not in every community, but there are quite a few in any given state. We refer to our state departments as departments. They can be interchangeable, but in DAV parlance, a department is an actual state. So when we're talking about departments, each department operates on their own, although they answer to the national organization. But they do operate on their own, and they do have, again, varying levels of assistance that they could provide. So we have chapter service officers. They're volunteers. They could be located in a chapter home. Some departments have what's called department service officers, who are often trained to assist, as well as some chapter service officers are, trained to assist in getting at least the initial benefits information and possible package together to submit to the VA. And then we have the national level. We have our national service officers who are employees of the organization, of the national organization.
Okay.
And national service officers are located wherever the VA regional office is, or what we call a VAMROC, which is a VA medical center / regional office combined center.
Okay.
We have offices located in all those locations.
That is wonderful. So again, the veteran just has to go to one of those offices and state what his or her needs or concerns are, and a professional is there who knows the inner workings of the system that can help.
That is absolutely correct. Again, DAV, NSOs, even department service officers and chapter service officers are all very well trained, and they continue to train throughout their careers. Just to make a point as far as the need to physically go to an office with today's technology, which is a wonderful thing.
We're the benefactors.
Absolutely, absolutely. The fact of the matter is, while phone calls are effective, we have email, which is fantastic. It tends to lead to more efficient and quicker communications between those who are reaching out to us and our contact with them. So we have many mediums for which to get in contact with us. Given the fact that we're not everywhere per se, we're in every state, but you don't want someone to have to drive 4 hours to come visit with you to sit down and talk about their benefits.
Right.
So there are other avenues. Some states, some counties have what's called county veteran service officers, which have worked in agreement with DAV in some cases, and in other cases, other organizations, and they're trained to assist veterans to get their processes started and help them along the way.
Okay. Well, that sounds very, very, very good in terms of making it easy for those who are disabled to be able to get help. What are some of the things that you find are commonly overlooked benefits with veterans? I mean, I know if you're disabled, there has to be a determination of the type of disability and what is it, whether it was service related or not. Is that how that works?
In part, yes. There are recognized disabilities by the VA that was established by Congress, as a matter of fact. The VA themselves don't establish the disabilities. Everything is approved through Congress.
Okay.
That's correct. So there are recognizable disabilities, and if anybody had suffered what's considered a chronic condition, and the medical records, the history can bear that out, the diagnosis, then someone has the right to file a claim for benefits.
Okay.
In some cases, individuals will file for what's symptom of what may become a, more long-term issue for them, medical health issue for them. But, it's a matter of talking to individuals like DAV national service officers, having them look at the records, the evidence that an individual can provide, that's their service treatment records, their current medical records if they're receiving treatment either through the VA themselves or if they're receiving treatment privately, to talk about what it is and how best to proceed in that particular claim.
Okay.
Or claim.
Okay. So where does it begin? It begins if we were just going to square zero and I had been disabled in wartime. I would contact you all or contact someone else. How does it begin?
Well, let's clarify something there, because you mentioned being disabled during wartime.
Yeah.
There is no requirement from the VA that your injuries or illness occurred during a period of war.
Wow.
DAV's membership, however, and that's where maybe some cross information
Right.
has been obtained. DAV's membership is based on wartime ill and injured veterans.
I
Wartime
understand.
service, excuse me.
Okay.
And there's periods of service that we recognize for our membership purposes.
Okay,
But for
got
VA
it.
purposes, if an injury occurred, and mostly from active duty service, it could be during peacetime, or it could be during a period of war. You may be eligible for benefits.
Okay, what about your spouse? If you're is disabled, is your spouse entitled to any compensation or assistance for these?
Well, no.
Okay.
And let me clarify that a little bit further. There is a caregiver benefit that an individual may be available, that may be afforded to them.
Okay.
May be eligible for that if they're considered a caregiver. The actual benefits for a spouse is monetary in nature on.
I think we're losing you, Scott. Okay, he's going to try back. I think we were disconnected. We are in the midst of an interview with Scott Trimarchi out of Washington, D.C. via Skype with the Disabled American Veterans. And I asked them to come on because this is an organization that is getting ready to celebrate 50 years of assisting veterans and their families. And it's a tremendous organization. The services are free. The membership is not, but you're not required to be a member to benefit from that service. So again, I thought it was super important to be able to talk to these individuals on a right now basis and get their impressions. So that's what we were doing. And of course, technology today being what it is, what can I say? You know, we've got the best of worlds, and then we got the worst of worlds. And so we are dealing with an interruption right now with Skype, and going to try to get that worked out so we can get him back on set and finish this interview on this remarkable organization. For those of you that are not familiar with DAV, Department of Disabled American Veterans, this is now your time to get aware of it. There are also some benefits that they may not be aware of. They probably are, but you may not be aware of, and that has to deal with, you know, on the medical side, they're very proactive in assisting and making sure that you get what you are entitled to in terms of care. But I'd also like to mention as a sidebar, not related to my interview with him, but just for general information, for you, if you are a veteran, period, and you are 65 and over, now is the time for you to go on and get your Medicare benefits. Yes, you can have your VA benefits and you can have your Medicare benefits as well. Bet you didn't know that. Many of you don't. Why would you want Medicare benefits as well as your VA? Second opinion, they're two different federal pots. Money that you paid into under Medicare during your working years, and the VA, which is your entitlement as a veteran. So again, this is up until December the 7th, you have an opportunity to do that. The VA has exquisite medical benefits, by the way, particularly in terms of drugs and medical care, but you may, depending upon where you're located, you may have a much longer wait to see one of their staff professionals than you would have on Medicare. So I do want to encourage all veterans, no exception to the rule. If you're 65 and over, go on and take that step into Medicare. as well as your benefits from VA. And if you're under 65 and disabled, under SSI, then you can also get enrolled. So those are my two takeaways on that. We're going to take a break. We're going to try to get reconnected with this interview, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for your patience.
Hello, Michelle.
Don't know what happened.
I have no idea.
I just wondered if your computer crashed or something, but let us resume. We'll just crop this in as a part of the, post-editing production, not a problem. But continuing forward, and during the break while we were trying to get this worked out, I just shared with them a side bar that I don't know if you're aware of, but that veterans that are 65 and over are eligible for Medicare benefits.
Well, yes, they are eligible for Medicare, absolutely.
Yeah, and many of them don't know. They don't know. They really don't. I've run into this over and over again where I told them there's no conflict. They're two different federal pots. And you will still be entitled to your VA benefits, but you also are eligible for your Medicare benefits as well. And that's something that I just put in as a sidebar. It's because many of them, we're in open enrollment right now. And
Yes.
many people just don't know. They did not know. And I told them the benefits are you can get a second opinion. VA still has top of the line as far as prescriptions and medical, but you may want to get in to see a doctor maybe a little sooner. And you can do that under Medicare. You can get into, particularly under the Part C Advantage, you can get in to see a doctor very, very quickly and perhaps get a second opinion. I don't know, it's whatever works for him or her. But
everybody's circumstances are a little bit unique to themselves.
Yeah, everybody stands on their own, but I do know that at least in the market we're in here, Scott, veterans cannot get right now, depending upon where they are on the tier, they don't seem to be getting full dental benefits.
And that's true.
Is that true?
Yes. In order to receive dental care through the VA, you have to be rated for a dental condition, a dental trauma, or be rated 100%. But even at 100%, depending on the facilities, the availability of a dentist in that particular facility, getting dental treatment may prove to be difficult.
Is that a funding issue or just a priority issue?
I couldn't speak to whether it was a funding/priority issue one way or the other. It's just it's the resources that the VA has in any given facility.
Okay, so it's a facility-based situation.
That's correct.
Okay. I appreciate you clarifying that. Is that their same position with regard to hearing loss and vision loss?
Well, hearing loss and vision loss, while you can be service connected, rated at 10% for any disability.
Okay.
And go to the VA for hearing aids,
Yes.
for hearing testing, and also for prescription glasses or
Yes.
contacts. They're available. Yes.
Okay. Because
But
I
you
know
only have to be rated a minimum of 10%. You can be rated at any range above that.
Okay.
But you have to be at least 10%.
Well, the hearing aid piece is very important because hearing aids are very expensive.
That's correct.
And if they are able to get that benefit, but I do know that I've encountered more than one conversation with veterans about dental work and endodontics and periodontal disease, et cetera, and they said we cannot get coverage under VA. We don't know if this is a new thing, and I just simply told them, please be aware that you're over 65, you can enroll into a plan with Medicare that would provide them with dental.
Right. And again, that goes back to everybody's particular unique circumstance.
Yes, I did. I just simply said that. Take advantage of what's available for you and get the correct information, which is why I'm having you on right now, because I think that today, more than anything, our veterans need to have advocates, and that's the role you're playing, is making sure they know everything that they can have. But getting back to my question, what do you feel are some of the most overlooked areas in terms of benefits from your experience with veterans?
What, overlooked in what way as far
Well,
as
they don't
health?
know. They don't know.
Well, I think you could say that about every benefit.
Really?
Absolutely, whether it comes to compensation, whether it comes to education, whether it comes to health care, you know, it's all a matter of having open dialogue with individuals who are experienced in talking about such issues.
I agree.
There's a lot of information that's out there available on the web, but it could be very confusing, very daunting, very intimidating
I think
at
you're
some of
right.
these circumstances, especially if you have more than one disability or one benefit that may be available to you. It's a matter of knowing where to go to get the right information.
You're
And how to
absolutely
apply
right.
Yes.
So let me ask you, if you don't mind, at least delineating some of the benefits that veterans need to know that they have, that they may not know. Do you feel comfortable sharing that?
Well, I think, again, it goes back to talking to someone because, they may not, a veteran may not be eligible for compensation benefits, but they may be they may have an education benefit that's
Okay.
available to them, or medical care based on their time in service, or if
Okay.
they entered into the Montgomery GI Bill, for education purposes.
Is that still operative, the GI Bill for education?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yes.
very good to know. Do they have to have time in?
Post-
How many years?
The post 9/11 GI Bill. There is
Okay.
requirements. I couldn't speak to the specifics at the immediate moment, but there are requirements for using the post 9/11 GI Bill.
Okay, okay, that would allow them to get advanced education?
Yes. I would also encourage individuals, those who may be in the arena of looking for a home.
Yes.
VA's home loan guarantee program. That's not predicated on any disabilities. That's based on being a veteran.
I love that program.
It is fantastic.
I'm
It
like,
is a very,
to be candid with you, Scott, I owned a mortgage bank and actually received a commendation from the then president for the number of veterans that, disabled or whatever, it didn't matter to me, you gave service, and it's an excellent program.
It is. There's, it adds an extra layer of protection, as you may be well aware, having been involved with that.
Yeah,
The VA has requirements on a property that's being considered to be purchased. And they go in there and they have their own VA inspectors go in and make sure that the property meets their standards.
I think that's appropriate. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it saves a lot of misery on all sides. I just think that that's an overlooked benefit for many, many veterans. They don't think they would qualify. But the VA is very generous, in my opinion, in terms of protecting the veteran, making sure he or she gets a home that's stable and structurally sound. And the down payment terms, I mean, zero. Come on, guys, buy a
if you-
house.
If you do have service-connected disabilities, there's some points or some fees that are waived as a result
Yes.
of that.
Yes,
So,
I I think that's phenomenal. I
That
really
is
do.
definitely one. I mean, it's certainly something to consider. Going back to things, benefits that may be overlooked.
Yeah.
Uh, First and foremost, I just want to add there's a misconception out there that there's this one singular pot of money that everybody has to draw from, that every veteran who files a claim and their benefits are paid out of. While, there is monies that are put forth in a budget for VA purposes,
Right.
whether it be healthcare or compensation, pension benefits. And that's a subject we didn't breach on yet, and that was the pension benefits.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that.
Yes, but just going back to my point is that, some individuals, they feel that their service either wasn't worthy enough, or there's other individuals that are more deserving for the compensation that's available to veterans. And I'm here to say that that's not the case. Everybody is worthy of receiving the proper benefits that they're rightfully entitled to.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Not taken away. You're not taking away from someone else's ability to get their benefits.
Yes, yes. Well, I think that's a good thing to know that, again, when you sign on the dotted line that you are prepared to give up your life for the benefit of this great country, then level playing field.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But, some people have strong principles, and I understand that. However, the benefits, the laws that are written for those benefits are intended for everybody who's eligible to receive them.
So it's just a matter of eligibility.
It's just a matter of eligibility. Now,
Okay.
and I will go on to add that, yes, there are some compensation claims, some disabilities that individuals file for that may be a little bit more difficult to prove. All the evidence may not be readily there or apparent, and it requires effort. It requires, bridging gaps. It requires, proving why it should be service related or service connected, as it's called. Not every case is easy, and the majority of them aren't that easy. It does take some legwork. It does take some evidence, and then of course, whatever the VA makes a decision, if they grant service connection, that's the first hurdle.
Okay.
Establishing service connection is the biggest hurdle. The second biggest hurdle is, what's the proper rating for that particular disability? Is it rated correct? Should they be 50% versus 30%, or is the evidence, more towards a 10% rating? I mean, and all those factors play in, but there are laws and regulations pertaining to disabilities. And it's under the VA's 38 CFR, it's the VA's schedule for rating disabilities. And while some disabilities, there are gray areas that can be used in order to argue particular ratings. There are a lot of ratings where it's more specific. You have to meet certain requirements to get to that particular disability level.
Okay.
Some disabilities, have, merely a 0% rating, and that's it, and you're covered for treatment. But others may be 10%, may be the max that you can get.
Okay, in terms of income, correct?
Well, in terms of the rating, the service-connected disability rating that you get, whether you have one disability or you have a multitude of disabilities. And to just touch on that real quick, in the VA's world, as we like to say, 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4.
Wow, okay.
Sometimes it appears that way, but there's something called a combined ratings table. When you have more than one disability, the combined ratings table comes into play. And there's a formula that's involved with it, and it's based on that final number, whether you get paid at a 20% rate versus a 30% rate versus a 40% rate. How many disabilities, what those particular disability ratings are, and then if there's what we call paired organs and extremities, there's the bilateral factor that's involved. And that's a whole nother set of formulas that's involved with getting to the end point of what someone should be rated.
Right.
That has to be taken into consideration.
My goodness. And is that a lengthy process in terms of time? 60 days, 120 days, depending?
For the actual claim itself,
Yes.
or for figuring out what someone should be entitled to?
For the claim itself.
The claim itself, depending on the issues, how many issues, the VA's new processes in the electronic environment,
Yes.
have sped things up. But about 120 days is what we're seeing. A little bit longer in some cases as well. I mean, there's no prediction. There's no exact formula to say this case will be rated within 120 days.
Okay.
Or it's going to take 6 months.
Okay.
There's a lot of influences that impact that, but on average, 6 months or so is probably about average, 4 to 6 months.
Okay. Well, that is certainly important for them to know that this is not going to happen just like a snap finger. It is a process.
There is a process that is involved, and I will also add that not every case is identical, although it may seem or may appear to be, on the surface.
Okay.
So, how much evidence is there, and then of course the VA's processing times vary because of the workload. How many claims do they have to work on any particular day? How many can they get done? How many personnel?
Is this based on all claims being centralized, or is it a region by region basis? How does that happen?
It's claims are put into what's called a national work queue.
Okay.
In years past, especially when I started many moons ago, in years past, your regional office was based on where you lived.
Okay.
And primarily, that's where your claim was handled. It didn't matter if they had 2 people work on a claim or 102 people to work on a claim. That's where your claim got processed. With the national work queue, a claim can be done electronically, and that's one of the best things about the electronic environment is that you can access it from anywhere. So
that's amazing. When did this go into law?
Well, it's been in effect for a couple of years now.
Okay.
And it's still in a working process. While it's made a tremendous impact on the timeliness of processing claims, if you want to call it timeliness. But from waiting in the past a year to regular claims, are being done far quicker now than they have in the past.
Okay. Let me ask you a question while we're talking about that. And this is just so that I'll know how to refer people myself. I just came out of a continuing ed class and dealing with issues of long-term care and the aid and assistance.
Aid and attendance.
Aid and attendance. Can you talk about both of those issues? Because for many veterans, long-term care is going to be an issue. Is there any facility for them?
Well, I can't speak to the long-term care issue. The medical field is not, the medical side of the house is really not my area of expertise.
Got it.
But what I can add about the aid and attendance
is
that's a monetary benefit that's provided to a veteran who meets the requirements for that particular benefit.
Okay.
It's not that the VA provides the care themselves.
Okay.
It is a monetary benefit that's added onto an individual's compensation benefits.
Understand. And it does potentially include widows?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
If they're eligible, if they meet the requirements for aid and attendance, that would include them as well.
Okay. How would they get more information about that? Would they contact you all?
Absolutely. I would encourage anybody to, of course, having worked with DAV for nearly 26 years.
Yes.
26 years coming up in January, as a matter of fact. You know, I believe there's no better organization out there. That doesn't mean that we're perfect and that, you know, things don't go wrong, you know, due to human error or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to go to someone who's the best trained, you know, go to DAV. However,
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and say that other organizations don't have, you know, very good service officers of their own, individuals who are wanting to help veterans, their family members, their survivors get the benefits that they rightfully deserve. If DAV is not available in your particular area, then certainly maybe a county veteran service office is. And I certainly hope DAV would be present.
Right.
Again, this country is just very large. I
It's
mean,
it's a huge country.
you can't be everywhere.
I
That's right.
mean,
You can't be everywhere.
this is a huge population base, but I was particularly concerned because I do, in the course of meeting people, interface with a lot of widows of veterans who are virtually penniless, older women, and I don't know where to send them. So can I send them your way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If anything, we can look into someone's eligibility for any benefits.
Okay.
I will need to add this as well. For DAV or any veteran service organization to have access to a veteran's records.
Yes. You're talking about the DD-214s and stuff?
Well, a DD-214 is, you know, something that someone could supply to me if I met them in a coffee shop today.
Yes, yes.
Their service treatment records, a copy of their records.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about, having physical access to the VA's records.
Okay.
The records
Oh, okay.
in the VA system.
Okay.
Anybody, any veteran service organization that does representation that's recognized as an accredited representative by the Department of Veterans Affairs, they need to have a form that's signed authorizing that access to the records.
Okay.
Without that form, the VA is just not going to arbitrarily give up someone's personal and private information, and rightfully so.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully
Well, it doesn't
so.
seem to be too different in the private sector. You've got to deal with HIPAA, where you do not have access to people's medical information without their authorization. And they're very strict about that.
Yes.
I mean, even husbands cannot get their wives' information and vice versa. So I understand what you're saying here. So you'd
Yes.
have to get the signature authorization to go
Yes.
in and look at to at least have the information released.
Yes. When we say release now, I mean, it's easy as a click of a button.
That's
on a computer.
amazing.
You know,
Isn't that,
before,
geez.
yes, before we had paper files, again, I came on when, you know, we're still etching in stone.
Yes.
But the paper files, you had to request the paper files and you had to wait for them to actually physically be delivered to your office. The VA
Man,
would have to go and have what was referred to then as a files clerk. They would pull the files and they would deliver them to the respective organizations. You'd have to put in a formal request to see them, and that could take who knows how long, days, weeks,
yeah,
depending if the file was immediately available.
right.
Now, in electronic environments, you can have multiple people in any one particular veteran's record without it being compromised, for one,
Right.
but two, you know, preventing access.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, that's a big game changer when you're talking about advocating for veterans, because you want to be able to see those records essentially when you're speaking to the individual.
Well,
if you can.
that would be
right.
the plan. That's what you'd
Yes.
like to look at the same time. So
Yes.
just for my information, just for clarity, the simplest way, because you all are basically functioning as a one-stop shop. Is that a fair descriptive? where they can come to you or your associates on any veteran-related benefit medical matters. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I mean, and if we don't have an immediate answer for a particular individual, NSOs, National Service Officers, are trained, as are Department Service Officers and Chapter Service Officers, but primarily National Service Officers, is to research. Don't just dismiss something, do some research and get the proper answer to the individual. If you don't have the answer immediately, that's okay. We'll look into it and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can in order to answer the question and how best, and also advise us to how best to proceed forward if it's, pertinent to filing a claim or an
Yes.
appeal or just simply providing the answer that an individual was needing.
This has been a very good conversation about your organization. Is there a telephone number that you can give us on set right now so we can let our viewers know?
Yes, there is. However, I've seen as I don't use that telephone number very often.
Okay.
At all.
Is there an email?
There is. www.dav.org
That's easy.
Is our website.
Okay.
And what that does, that will provide individuals access to an array of resources for DAV. And for veterans, there's a resource tab that allows you to reach out to your local National Service Office.
Oh, goodness. Right on site.
Right on site. I mean, it's under the tab for veterans, and it will go ahead and bring you to the proper link, and you'll be able to reach out via email or give the telephone number to a particular office. I prefer emails because I find that in this day and age, emails are a lot easier to initiate communication.
Right.
To have long conversations in specifics about particular disabilities, talking in person or on phone may be the best avenue after the initial contact is made.
Right.
But even our offices in this day, the best way to start the contact, and that is through email. It's called a NSO locator, a National Service Office locator.
Okay.
That we have on our website.
Well, listen, let me just summarize for my viewers today, because we have gotten a lot of information. I want to again thank you, Scott, and your organization, DAV, Disabled American Veterans, a 50-year organization committed to helping our disabled American veterans to get success in understanding eligibility, benefits, and a wide variety of information. You can reach them on their website, www.dav.org, and it will trail you into many of the questions you have, give you phone numbers, contact information. I hope the weather in Washington, D.C., Scott, is a little better than here, but notwithstanding, I went to school at American University. I'm very familiar with Washington, D.C. Beautiful.
Yes, but the weather patterns around here are quite challenging.
I do know. I remember very, very well. But I want to thank you for being our guest and for sharing the information. And in concluding today's segment of The Power of Money, again, I'm your host, Michelle Graves. I delight in being able to bring you people that can change your world, because information is powerful. You take care, and God bless you so much. And Scott, again, thank you so very much. You take care.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
you for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.